Many families in the Houston area are still recovering from recent storms. Knowing more severe weather could happen is stressful to even think about. Joining us this morning to discuss the best way to mentally prepare for the season is Dr. Jennifer Bahrman, psychologist with UTHealth Houston. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
We appreciate your time. You know, again, wrapping your mind around what this season could look like is very stressful. Knowing so many of our local families have been through not one, not two, not three, 4 rounds of severe weather within the past month is draining mentally, physically, and then of course the stress that comes with that. Whole nother level.
Absolutely, yes. It's just been a lot of storms that we've been having, and we're just starting the whole hurricane season, which is coming with a lot of additional worries associated with it too, especially when we're hearing that it's going to be a lot of hurricanes to be expecting this season.
Yeah. What is when you talk to families, you know, impacted by severe weather, again, there are many different layers to this. You have the physical fatigue, you have the mental exhaustion. What contributes to that state?
Well, when we're in a constant state of stress, it becomes distressing to us, right? So usually anxiety is a normal experience to have. It keeps us alive, right? It keeps us motivated, it keeps us doing things such as like preparing our emergency kit for hurricane season. But when we're feeling a lot of stress, constant anxiety, then it becomes really distressing to us. And that's when it's problematic.
Problematic not only for you, but also your family, your children.
Absolutely. The kids, they're like sponges, right? They really pick up on our anxiety as adults. And you know, when we think of the little ones, they may not have been around at previous storms that we've had. And in the past month, as you mentioned, there's been 4 storms that we've had, and the kids are definitely experiencing that as well right now.
Yeah, not only are they feeding off of what mom and dad are doing, that energy, they're also interpreting these events in their own way, on their own level, and so that can be almost maybe a double whammy for them.
Of course, yes. So they're picking up mom and dad's or whatever adults in their lives, their anxiety, and then they have their own anxiety because they're living through these storms the same way that we are.
I remember it was a few weeks ago, we had a crew out in Liberty County, and our reporter and photographer, they were able to talk to a family that was being evacuated in a high water vehicle. And I remember that interview with a little girl, and it was so poignant. You know, she was able to articulate what it was that was happening in her own words, but also the moments leading up to that, you know, mom and dad's actions and how that impacted her and her family. And so it's something that we as adults need to be mindful of. As stressful as it can be, we need to know that, you know, there are others that are going to be impacted by what it is we do, what it is we say. And so being mindful of that can be key.
Exactly. It's really important that as adults that we try to manage our own anxiety so that it doesn't spill over onto the little ones as well. And think about it in an airplane, how we get told to always put our own oxygen mask on before we put it on for our loved ones. And that same thing we need to do here. We need to manage our own anxiety, our own stress, so that our little kids in our lives don't pick up on that.
That's a really great analogy, great perspective as to, you know, how to navigate these tough situations. What other suggestions would you have for people who are going through a lot right now or are concerned about what lies ahead? What would you say to them?
Well, one thing that really helps with anxiety is planning ahead. So having a game plan of where to evacuate in case a hurricane does head our way. What safety individuals that our children and our pets can go to. And having all that aligned up is really important. You know, having our hurricane emergency kit and really talking to the children in our lives about that can be helpful too. It's so important though not to get consumed by staying and watching TV and watching the news. It's important to stay aware, but not to be sitting there and I like to think of it as marinating in that anxiety.
Yeah, and you know, including them too in those opportunities when you are putting together that hurricane preparedness kit, giving them a task with it, having them assemble part of it could also be helpful. You know, it's not to say that this period won't be scary. The hope is it'll be a little less scary for you and your family.
Correct, yes. We can't control the hurricanes, we can't control the storms. They unfortunately happen inevitably. But what we can do is we can be as prepared as possible, emotionally and physically as well, to be able to handle whatever does come our way.
And of course, if you do need help managing your mental state, there are plenty of resources. Where do you want people to start?
Well, reaching out to local providers, so you can talk to your primary care physician if you feel like you need additional help. Of course, we have psychologists, therapists, psychiatrists in the community. But sometimes with these crises, it does elicit also negative feelings, and knowing that there are national resources available too, such as the 988 crisis hotline.
Yeah, which is 24/7, 365, and it's
completely
okay.
free of charge.
Yeah, we always say it's okay not to be okay, but knowing when you need help and knowing that there are resources available to help, that's really critical.